Hello, I'm Kristen Brznowski, Executive Editor of TV Reel, and I have the pleasure of speaking with renowned rock climbers Alex Honnold and Tommy Caldwell all about their expedition in this documentary special, The Devil's Climb. Hello to you both.
Hello, thanks for having
Morning.
us.
Yeah, morning, Kristen.
Yeah, great to speak with you. Maybe going back to the beginning of the project, how and when did this idea to do this expedition together and to do it filmed, how did that come about?
I guess I'll take this one since the origin was sort of with me. Um, I I got involved because I do work with Patagonia and the Tongass National Forest, which is the place where the Devil's Thumb is in this big like old growth logging fight. And so I was trying to figure out ways to bring awareness to that. And then I realized that this magnificent, crazy mountain was there. And so I planned a trip. And I was going to do it solo, but the idea of doing it solo kind of made me sad. So I called Alex and see if he would want to come and which he eventually said he would. And then once he was on, then Nat Geo just kind of came with that, and so turned into a big production and a really cool trip.
And Alex, what did this climb mean for you personally?
Well, I just think it was a grand adventure with a good friend. I mean, as you see in the film, it was such a big journey. I've done a few bike tours like this in the past, but nothing nearly of this scale. And just to cover this much terrain and do this much climbing and to just like have an adventure with Tommy, it's like one adventure.
And how about for you, Tommy? What did this mean for you? You were recovering from an injury with your Achilles heel, yes?
Yeah, I had not really climbed much for 2 years, which weighed on me heavily because as a professional climber, that's a big deal. I figured that pumping a lot of blood through my body would be a good way to kind of go through the final stages of actually healing. And, nothing like pumping a lot of blood through your body than 6 weeks on a bike. And the climbing was the part that I was most nervous about because especially the way that Alex and I climb, we simul climb a lot, which is a little bit dangerous. And to do dangerous climbing, you want to be very, very in touch with the rock and the climbing. And if you just haven't been doing it that much, it can get a little bit more risky. So we had to kind of take it slow. Start out with climbing that was less risky in the first part of the trip and kind of get used to it throughout. And by the time we got to Alaska, I was hoping that I would be healed enough and have the sort of climbing headspace to be able to keep up and keep it safe enough. And so we kind of had laid it out over this 2.5 month long journey. And yeah, it seemed to work out mostly, mostly as we hoped.
What was the toughest part of this? Was it more physical or mental or emotional?
Oh, I think just the physical grind. I mean, as you would expect from a 2 month expedition with biking 100 miles every day and climbing mountains, we just got tired. I mean, at least for me, for me it was clearly just a physical grind. I think Tommy got maybe a little bit less worked and probably had I don't know. Well, what do you think, Tommy?
I mean, I would say on the bike I got less worked, but when we weren't on the bikes, I certainly got more worked.
Yeah.
But there was a huge amount of toil. I mean, basically every day for 2.5 months, except for maybe the few days that we were sailing, we were moving for like 12 to 14 hours a day. It was like an insane amount of calorie output. And then especially hiking into the Devil's Thumb at the end, we were putting in sometimes up to like 18-hour days of just like constant pretty art pretty vigorous movement. So yeah, it was like a different level of activity than I've experienced for that duration at any time in my life. I mean, Alex and I have done tons of climbs where we'll go out for like 24 or so hours, but then we'll get like a week to rest afterwards. This was like literally going for 2.5 months solid.
Alongside all of this physical exertion, what are the challenges of doing this while filming? Do you forget the fact that anything is being taped, and what sort of tech has to be employed for this?
Honestly, the filming wasn't that high impact on this trip, I don't think. I mean, we had Taylor Schaefer with us, who's a character in the film. He was with us for a lot of the biking and well, all the biking and some of the early walls. And he was basically just like another friend on the trip that was on this whole journey with us. And then honestly, having the film crew with us in Alaska was kind of fun. It's like they're all friends of ours. They were doing a good job. We're all just like out in the woods together having an adventure. I mean, it was I don't know. I felt like it was kind of nice.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine a world where filming would get in the way, but I think Alex and I have been doing this long enough that we've built this like team of people that we always invite on trips like this, and really are like our best friends. Like some of these people I've been working with for like 20 years, and so it's sort of like doing a trip with your good friends, which is really fun and incredible. And actually having the infrastructure of the filming helped us in some ways. Like for instance, we didn't have to carry everything on our bikes. We didn't have to carry all of our equipment to climb the mountains in Alaska on our bikes. We just were able to give that to the film crew to
And
carry for us.
and I think more importantly is if you're going to a place like Alaska, you kind of want it to be filmed. I mean, it was so incredible. The landscape was so incredible. The scenery, it's like you're just in this place that you feel like should be shared as widely as possible because you're like, this is an incredible place.
Yeah, for me, it's like looking at your own personal photo album, but having the best filmers in the world make it. It's like kind of amazing afterwards, you know?
How do you think the bond between the two of you impacted not only the climb, but the doc special that we all get to see?
I mean, especially I felt this during the trip, but I felt it even almost more acutely in a way watching the film. Like the film does such a good job of bringing together sort of like the bromance that we have going. And I remember being like, man, Alex was such a good friend of me to actually do this trip in the first place. Like I thought we were just going on a trip in the beginning, but throughout the trip I was like, he was really doing this to like support me in a way that meant a lot to me. So being able to share that through this National Geographic film, I think for both of us, we spent so much of our lives doing trips that were about like personal accomplishment. And for this one, this was I feel like the priority was just doing an adventure together. It was like the people before the adventure, which I feel like is how it should be, really.
Well, it's been fantastic getting a look behind the scenes. Thank you both for talking to me and congratulations. It really is such a feat and it's so cool that you get to share that with all of us. So thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
having me.
you.
I appreciate it.